Shabbat Shalom. I'd like to thank the synagogue leadership, the officers, and the board of trustees and the congregation for allowing me a little time away. I was able to be away last Shabbos on vacation. Nice to get away to recharge a little bit, and find a little sunshine. It exists. I promise you it exists. So there we were in the Atlanta airport, Rebecca, the kids, and I was fully in my civilian camouflage. I had my Michigan hat, baseball cap pulled down tight. I had my Michigan sweater, blue jeans, and I was comfortable. I was keeping to myself. It was just the four of us. We were in the middle of the Atlanta airport, which you know is packed and busy, and there we were sitting waiting for our connecting flight. And what do you do when you're sitting there waiting at the airport? You watch people. And if you're not watching people, you're reading. And then you watch people a little bit more. So sure enough, I was doing my reading as I want to do with my pen out and underlining and whatever. I happen to have brought the Talmud with me, a little light reading for my plane trip. And I see a guy sitting across the aisle from us, just kind of watching us. And he's a small guy, but he's got a big Texas cowboy hat on. And you know, what do you do at the airport if you're not reading? You're people watching, so I didn't think too much of it. Well, a few minutes go by and he's still watching, and he finally, he says to me, he says, "Sir, I got a question for you." "Sure." "Are you a professor or a pastor?" And I'm looking at myself and my family, and I've got my Michigan baseball hat, and I've got a Michigan sweatshirt, and I got blue jeans, and I'm thinking, what in the world? So I said, before I answer the question, let me ask, why are you guessing those two things? He said, well, I've been watching you with your family, and I've been watching you reading, and the only people who underline a book with as much joy as you is either a professor or a pastor. And he says, I'm guessing you're a pastor. I said, you nailed it on the head. I said, how did you know so quickly and so easily? He says, well, it takes one to know one. So there you go. I was thinking about this story this week as I came across another story of a town in the Old West 100 years or so ago, and there was a bar in the Old West. And in the bar was a bunch of big, burly men, each with their 10-gallon hat, and they were big, and they were burly, and they were awfully mean-looking. And there in the midst of the bar was a Jew, sitting there trying to keep to himself, quietly drinking his beer, trying to stay out of the way and unseen. When all of a sudden in walks another big, burly man, in fact, a bigger and burlier man than all the other big and burlier men in there, and they may have had 10-gallon hats on, he had a 12-gallon hat on. And he throws open the door and he walks into the bar and he says, are there any Jews in here? Of course, the Jew sinks down into his chair, hoping not to be noticed. The big man yells again, are there any Jews in here? Now the Jewish guy's really keeping to himself, keeping his head low, when all the 10-gallon hats, of course, turn toward him. And sure enough, this biggest and burliest of men with the 12-gallon hat, he walks over to the Jew. And he bends down and he looks him right in the face. And he says, we need a tent for Minyan. Minyan's been on my mind the last several weeks. Over the winter vacation at the end of December, we knew a lot of our snowbirds were away, and so we put out a call for increased Minyan attendance because we were worried about achieving the number 10. And Congregation Shaarey Zedek, you turned out in force. I know on December 25th, which is a big day for Minyan around the country, people were so worried that we weren't going to have a Minyan that I heard that 50 people attended evening Minyan that day. Kol hakavod to us. I mean, what an amazing thing that people really stepped forward to attend and to participate in Minyan. It's important. And having a daily Minyan is really one of the signs of a healthy and thriving congregation. And despite the fact that we've had so many snowbirds away and so much travel over the last couple of months, by and large, we've really kept the Minyan going. Now today I want to ask you to consider really being one in a minyan. We read this week Parashat Tissa, and as I mentioned earlier, Parashat Tissa is full of lots of important lessons in the Torah, lots of important stories, including the golden calf. But our rabbis spend, in addition to talking about the golden calf, a significant amount of time looking at a juxtaposition between the building of the tabernacle and the commandment again to observe Shabbat. Between the building of the tabernacle and the commandment to observe Shabbat. And they talk about this interesting juxtaposition. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel famously came to say, it's very easy why these two are associated. Shabbat is a sanctuary in time, whereas the tabernacle was a sanctuary in space. And you need both. We need both kinds of sanctuaries. In a more classic sense, our rabbis came to deduce what the laws of Shabbat are by the fact that it's juxtaposed to the building of the tabernacle. And they came to say any of the things that we were obligated to do during the building of the tabernacle, we were forbidden from doing on Shabbat. Anything we were obligated to do with regard to the construction of the tabernacle, the idea of building something new and all of the subcategories of building, the idea of engaging in commerce, which is necessary for any sort of construction. The fact that these two things are juxtaposed means all that we did to build the tabernacle we're forbidden from doing on Shabbat. So the categories of milachot, of prohibited labor, come directly from that. Everything that we're not allowed to do on Shabbos is because dafka we did it as we were building the tabernacle. Still, other rabbis come to point out something different. And this is really where I want to focus here. Our Torah portion talks about Shabbat and the holidays. Now we know Shabbos and holidays are big days. They're celebratory days. If you add on top of that the life cycle events, these are the moments to which we look forward. These are the moments by which we anchor the significant periods of our lives. These are our moments of greatest joy and celebration. It's how we mark the passage of time, by looking forward to these special days. That's Shabbos and the holidays. But then with the building of the tabernacle, you have the everyday. The day in and day out, the Sunday through Friday, as it were, of trying to figure out how to take some of that joy and celebration from Shabbat and holidays and infuse it through the everyday. Put in a more global context, as I mentioned earlier, this week's Torah portion, Parashat Tissa, really comes to emphasize the rabbinic notion of ein mukdam ve'ein meuchar b'Torah. There's no early and there's no late in the Torah. So it's like a puzzle that they unpack and re-put together. And our rabbis come to teach that what happened first was, of course, Moses on Sinai. And at the same time, you have the golden calf incident. And then as we begin to leave Sinai, that's when God commands us regarding the building of the tabernacle. Because God sees that the moment we start leaving Sinai, we start leaving that grandiose experience of connecting to God in that sense of spirituality, we need to put something in its place. The moment our people started walking away from Sinai is the moment they really started sinning against God. And so as an antidote to that sin, God commands through Moses the idea of building this tabernacle, a place that we can come to every day in the wilderness to feel a sense of God's presence in our lives. Every day can't be Shabbat. Every day can't be the holidays. Every day can't be that bar bat mitzvah, the wedding, the baby naming that we look forward to really feel that sense of God's presence in our lives. But in its place, every day, we have the commandment to pray. And we, and especially we at Zedek, have a minyan every day. And so I've decided to take it upon myself to try to convince each and every one of you of making minyan part of your lives in some form or fashion. Maybe it's just a couple times a year to say Kaddish. Maybe it's once a month you make a commitment. Maybe it's on your birthday. Maybe it's once a week you're able to make a commitment to come to minyan and really help keep our minyan strong. So here, my friends, I have Rabbi Aaron Starr's top 10 reasons to come to daily minyan. Number 10, it's a free breakfast. They always say there's no such thing as a free breakfast. We're offering a free breakfast. with a really interesting group of people. I always say if I were going to write a sitcom, it would be about the morning Minyan breakfast table. So if you want to come learn about politics, about religion, about all the things you're not supposed to talk about with polite company, come to the free breakfast after Minyan every morning. Just ask Steve Weisberg, right, Steve? Number 9, you get your day started early. If you're still working and you're rushing off to the office, what a perfect opportunity to get up even earlier and start your day focused and on the right path. All of your greatest business coaches and executives, those who really tell us how to live our lives with meaning and purpose, people like John Dwoskin, who tell us to think big. They say how you start your day matters. So start your day with meaning and purpose and get your day started early, 7:30 a.m., for example. Number 8 on Rabbi Starr's top 10 reasons to come to daily Minyan. In the Talmud it says, if you say the Ashrei prayer 3 times a day, you reserve for yourself a place in heaven. Pretty good deal, right? You say Ashrei twice during the morning service and once at Mincha. So if you come to daily services, you've just reserved for yourself a place in heaven. You heard it here, it can happen. Number 7, Jewish tradition obligates men to pray 3 times daily. It's a chiyuv, it's an obligation, it's a mitzvah, it's a commandment to pray to God 3 times a day. And you notice my language was intentional here. Jewish tradition obligates men to pray 3 times a day. We know that that's the tradition. Because number 6 in Rabbi Starr's top 10 list of reasons to come to daily Minyan, number 6, generations of Jews fought for the right of women to be counted in the Minyan and to lead prayer. When women do not come to Minyan, they dishonor those struggles. When women don't come to Minyan, they dishonor those struggles. Reason why women in particular should come to Minyan. Number 5 in my top 10 list of reasons to come to Minyan, and this is for a particular group of you who are retired, and I know who you are. You're retired. You have the time. Come to Minyan. If it's not 7:30 a.m., come at 5:30 in the afternoon. Reason number 4. It is one of the few opportunities in life where you do not have to know anything or do anything. You simply have to show up and be present. And that makes a world of difference. You simply have to show up and be present. And it makes a world of difference. Number 3, by attending Minyan, you were linked with the generations of Jews who came before you, going all the way back to Abraham and Sarah, and to the hundreds of generations yet to come for whom you were laying a groundwork of learning, prayer, and practice. Come to Minyan. Reason number 2, Minyan offers a daily opportunity for prayer, for quiet, for introspection, for reflection, and for speaking personally with the Holy One. Come to Minyan. Reason number 1 to come to daily Minyan. By attending Minyan, you directly enable someone to honor and to remember a loved one through the recitation of Kaddish. By coming to Minyan, you help those who are most in need to say Kaddish. What a mitzvah that is. Come to Minyan. And did I mention there's free breakfast? This week of Parashat Tissa, as our rabbis ask the question, how do we continue to feel God's presence in a daily way? As we continue to leave that Sinai experience, whatever it happens to be in our lives, whether it's Shabbat and the holidays, or it's the bar, bat mitzvah, or it's the wedding, we leave those grandiose moments and we begin to walk away from them. We seek to find God's presence in our daily lives. I'd like to ask you, Shaarey, Zedek, how can you make Minyan part of your life? How can you? Once a week? Once a month? A few times a year? Every day? How can you make coming to Minyan part of your life and thereby sustain our congregation and our people? And how can you make sure that I don't have to put on a 12-gallon hat, throw open the door, and say, we need a tent for Minyan? This Shabbat and every week, Let us move forward as a congregation with a renewed purpose to strengthen our Minyan, and let each and every one of us consider what it means to be one in a Minyan. Shabbat Shalom.